Hello, creators. Registration for our next Wellness Center Creators Retreat opens September 1st, 2025. And we'd love to have you join us in person in Vancouver, Washington, September 22nd through 25th in 2026.
We've only got 20 spaces per track, so be sure to check out the options and see which one fits you and any leadership team members you may want to bring along.
If you register before the end of the year, you'll get the early bird rate plus some new VIP perks.
All the details are at wellnesscentercreators.com/retreats, and we can't wait to see you there.
Before we get into today's episode, I'd like to take a moment to chat about our sponsor, Jane, a clinic management software and EMR. Your evenings and weekends should be spent with loved ones, not chasing down your patients and clients for payment. That's why Jane has designed a secure payment solution that helps reduce the amount of time you spend manually following up with patients. Clients can save their credit card details and insurance policy information securely through your intake form, which can then be conveniently processed after your time together. And if they've got an outstanding balance, you can send a payment request via email or SMS that allows your patients to pay off their balance online from the comfort of their homes. To see how Jane can help you reclaim your after-work hours, head to jane.app to book a personalized demo. Or if you're ready to get started, you can use the code WELLNESS1MO at the time of sign-up for a 1-month grace period applied to your new account. Hi there, and welcome to the Wellness Center Creators Podcast. I'm Kendall Hagenson.
And I'm Anna Rudell. We're thrilled to have you join us on this journey of creating innovative, patient-centered wellness centers.
As experienced health and wellness providers, we've seen firsthand the challenges of delivering comprehensive, holistic care to our patients.
That's why we created this podcast, to share the knowledge, strategies, and insights we've gained from our own experiences and from connecting with experts in the field.
Each episode, we'll dive into a different aspect of building and growing a successful wellness center, from developing a strong multidisciplinary team to implementing cutting-edge technologies and treatment approaches.
We'll also share practical tips, resources, and real-world examples to help you overcome common obstacles and streamline your processes.
Our goal is to empower you with the tools and confidence you need to create a thriving wellness center that truly makes a difference in your patients' lives.
So whether you're just starting out or looking to take your existing practice to the next level, you're in the right place.
Get ready to learn, grow, and be inspired. Let's create something amazing together.
Welcome to the Wellness Center Creators Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Wellness Center Creators Podcast. Today on the show, Anna and I are going to discuss a topic we are calling preparing for the inevitable. We all have these situations where we make a hire to our team and we can see some signs early on it's not actually going to be a good fit. And we try to put things in place. We do training, we do performance improvement, we do all the things we can do. And there's still signs that the inevitable is coming, that this person is going to be a better fit and better for their career if they're elsewhere and not with your company. So we want to talk about that today and how we prepare for that and all the layers to these situations. Hi, Anna.
Hi, Kendall. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Yes, doing well. Nice to be here.
Yes. This is such an important topic. I think you are very passionate about this topic as well. We've had so many similar situations. We've really have amazing teams, both of us. And every so often, it doesn't matter, as well as we have our recruiting and hiring onboarding process in place, making a hire to our team is still a leap of faith at the end of the day. Do you agree with that?
It's always a leap of faith. And I think sometimes a hire isn't just about the skill set of bringing somebody on board. It's actually about the growth of the team and the growth of us as leaders as well through that experience.
Absolutely.
I choose to take a holistic view of the whole thing, Kendall.
Yeah, same, right? We're in agreement there. And people know from the podcast from previous episodes, like obviously we don't just hire people on their clinical skill. I hire people even more so sometimes on their personality and how they'll fit in with the current team. And do they like to learn new things? Are they open to new experiences? And so much more important that a lot of the clinical stuff is very, very teachable.
Yeah,
We, of course, want people
absolutely.
to have that foundational, able to do the job, and that innate kind of ability to be with a patient in the room. But aside from that, we can always teach someone a new technique.
Exactly, exactly. And sometimes we just have to observe the signs that
Mhm.
something isn't quite right. And I think one of the hardest things I've been talking with Kendall about is is knowing that we now have to sit back and wait and not knowing what the outcome is. Kendall, have you had experiences where you've had to sort of sit back and let the chips fall where they may
Mhm.
because you can't intervene at that point?
Yes, I have. And let's kind of peek behind the curtain and let our audience know like what we mean by that, because we can choose in the states that we practice in. There, it's called at will employment, and we can terminate someone's employment at any time, and someone can leave our company at any time, essentially without a reason. What Anna's speaking to is sometimes we have these situations where there are additional layers to it, and an employee might be uh, really struggling with a medical situation or a family leave situation. Um, Something to that effect where we as employers and people,
Yeah.
it's very there's some legal issues in place of legal barriers of being able to terminate someone's employment during that time, but also just as human beings, right? We're not trying to ruin someone's life. So there are some of the times those situations where their life situation is not really getting better, and that it's not going to be a fit for them to be able to fulfill the position.
Mhm.
And you do everything you can with performance improvement, you do everything you can with accommodations in place, and they're still not going to be able to fulfill the role in the way that you need them to. And that's what Anna's speaking to is in those situations, then there is a waiting process
Mm.
to have things unfold as they will, and they always do naturally. But what we've also talked about is stepping back and really assessing and thinking about how how does it affect the team? How does it affect the clients in the waiting process? So
Mhm.
there's those situations where you really don't have a choice. You have to wait until something else happens to terminate employment. There are also the situations where you're kind of going back and forth, like, should I wait or should I terminate employment now? And that's where you start to weigh in how damaging is it for the person to stay on the team another day? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, and we work in healing professions, and I think that our default is always to give, well, I think anybody really, the
Mhm.
default is to give the employee the benefit of the doubt that things can
Always.
get better
Mhm.
or that things will change. And I think uh, I've observed over the years that you see the writing on the wall, and then it's a gamble of, okay, well, do I create an opportunity for this conversation to be had, or do I let it unfold naturally, or do I wait for there to be serious repercussions in the company?
Mm.
And I don't know that there's ever a right answer to that. It's a very, very fine needle to thread.
Mhm. It is. It is. Let's share with our listeners some of the signs we might see that would
Mhm.
tell our gut, like, to just be on alert, right? We hire someone into the team. What are a few things you might start seeing to put you on alert initially?
Well, the obvious ones I would say are tardiness to work, late call outs, sudden changes in schedule. So
Hmm.
that's its own category, isn't it? And then you have the physical category. Okay, so is someone showing up to work looking fit and healthy? Is someone showing up to work looking put together and ready to
Hmm.
work?
Hmm.
Do the stories add up?
Hmm.
Because we will always be given stories, excuses, reasons why certain things aren't or are happening. Um, yeah, those are some of the immediate things that come to mind. But I
Hmm.
think the most obvious is it's a change in schedule or a change in the ability to show up for work in any capacity, whether that's physical, mental,
Yeah,
emotional.
I do agree with that. I think that is probably the number one sign, if I think over the years, of what of the inevitable happening of the person not being a fit. In most of those situations early on, that team member had a very difficult time being on time or showing up even to the shift, or changing, blocking out shifts last minute, things like that. I can think of that in almost every single situation.
Yeah,
And it's energetically, it's a sign that they don't have 2 feet
yeah,
in to being on your team, and that's a problem.
yeah.
And then it's, in several situations, it can also be an array of other things that are going on for that person. Of course, personal life, mental health, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, they don't have 2 feet for some reason. And what is that reason? So our approach is to always give the benefit of the doubt. My first initial meeting is always me taking responsibility for the person not having clarity in the role.
Hmm.
What can we be more clear about? What expectations can we be more clear about? Some employees do really well with a very, very specific list. Like all of us clinic owners, right? We have job descriptions, we have roles and responsibilities, we make lists. But in some situations, an employee could be more successful if they had an even more detailed list to refer to of priorities and time blocks, and right. And I am not above creating that for my team member if that will really assist them. I work with them collaboratively to create something like that. But so if we go through all those steps and then they're still struggling with it, and then they're trying to hide that they're struggling with it, it it will just crumble on its own, right? We as employers don't actually need to do anything in that scenario. It eventually crumbles on its own. Where I wonder about a conversation around, what is the threshold for you where you do step in and make that decision yourself to terminate employment versus letting it unfold?
Mm. Typically, I'm somebody who will watch it unfold and then take the step,
Mhm.
or I'll try and intervene and then I'll sit back and wait and see
Mhm.
if that did anything, and then I'll reach my tipping point. I'm not sure that that is the wisest or the smartest way to do it. I'm not sure that that is the way my coach might suggest I I, I run things.
Who, me?
But I would always want to give the benefit of the doubt, and I always want to offer an off ramp
Yeah.
whereby, faces are saved. So,
Yeah.
for example, in an employee situation where you might need to be terminating the employment, to offer an ability for the employee to save face and not be terminated
Mhm.
is always I would say, preferred.
Yeah, I agree with you. I support you as your coach in that method. I have a similar approach, but I think over the years I've also my line for stepping in and making that choice, it has changed
Mhm.
over time.
Yes.
And but I agree with you that it's always best, it feels best all around to work collaboratively with the employee and give them the option to resign versus being terminated. Many employees will take the termination so that they can get unemployment, which is their right to do.
Mhm.
So I've had there's several situations where they're given the choice and they do choose that. But as much as possible to work together in the process on behalf of the team, the patients, and everyone involved.
Mhm.
That works when there's not a major rupture,
Right. Yes. This
right?
is all assuming not a major rupture,
Yeah,
in which case all bets are off.
all bets are off. And at the end of the day, people are taking care of themselves, and you are in charge of taking care of your business. So there are times when my recommendation would be that you do need to terminate someone's employment on the spot, and then you have to then deal with the aftermath with the team.
Mhm.
And those are challenging situations because everyone wants to make meaning about that.
Mhm.
So team members want to make meaning, and you're operating a small business. There's an HR component, right? How much do you share with the team? What do you not share? And at the end of the day, I come back to what is true and what is need to know. How do I help the team understand why this was an abrupt transition? Thankfully, over the last 10 years, the abrupt transitions have been few and far between, but they are the ones that people remember
Mhm. Mhm.
and for years to come.
Yeah.
And so, our encouragement to the listener is to pause always in these scenarios and think about what is more impactful to the team and patients. Is it an abrupt termination of a team member, or is it this person staying on the team? Because my sort of line, that my threshold to where I do need to make an abrupt decision, is around egregious behaviors, toxicity, damaging, disparaging language, things like that. So if someone is yelling at team members and cannot control themselves, if someone is showing up under the influence to the clinic, if someone is spreading, saying really negative things about teammates or the company, it will hurt the company much more for that person to stay on the team for any additional days.
Mhm. I've noticed that the rupture terminations
Yeah.
are far more painful in the moment, but the minute that they're over,
Yeah.
there is relief and
Yeah.
it's dramatic
Yeah.
versus the long drawn out situation where the pain really comes at the end. It's it, you see a sort of slow decline and the pain comes at the end when the actual conversation has to be had. But
Absolutely.
it's not always immediately better after.
No, it can take some time. But especially in leadership, you start to feel the energy shift immediately.
Mhm.
And within the next few months, you realize your team, this transition needed to happen
Mhm.
6 months ago, a
Right.
year ago, right? And
Mhm.
then you start to see how many other smaller ruptures were because the dynamic of having that person in that role.
Mhm. Yeah. Gosh, it's a heavy topic we've chosen today,
It is.
Kendall.
It's a little heavy. How do we make it lighter? What are our suggestions? How do we make
Well,
this easier?
you can't make it easier. That's the problem. That's the problem. It's like living in California. Navigating the inevitable. We're going to get the earthquake. So how do we work
How
with
do we
it?
prepare for it?
How do
So
we prepare?
yes, truly, how can we help our listeners prepare? My suggestions are around always listen to your gut.
100% agree.
Always.
Yeah.
I know there's hundreds of listeners right now who are sitting there going, you know what? I think I listened to my gut, but then I didn't in this situation. And I kept going. And all the time I catch myself and I have to remind myself, Kendall, you think that you're listening to your gut all the time, but why did you make this decision? Why did you let this happen? Because you did a major override of how you were actually feeling,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It happens to me still very frequently. So listen to gut, pause and plan. This is Anna and I's, I think, go-to, right? Pause, make a plan. Pause, make a plan. I think where you get into the most damaging exits on your team is when rash decisions are made and emotions are running very high.
Mm-hmm.
You say things you don't want to say, do things you don't want to do. So pausing and planning once you've noticed in your gut, like this is what needs to happen. And then like we were talking about earlier, to weigh the impact. So how do you mitigate the impact to the team and the patients? Team and patients are up there kind of tying each other, but patients are always number one.
Mm-hmm.
In how can we make sure this is a smooth transition for them in whatever way that means. I would say in preparing, we go over to logistics. So this starts at the beginning of employment, making sure you keep a very clear file for every single person you employ.
Yes.
Make the
For a
contracts,
truer word spoken.
keep a file. Small business owners everywhere are, continue to make it up as they go along. I don't blame you. Please start keeping files.
Well, let's take a pause here, Kendall, before we go any further. What does your file look like? And then I'll share what mine looks like.
So in the beginning, I always had paper files.
Mm-hmm.
And I would put anything pertaining to that employee. So signed offer letter, any HR form you can think of, any non-compete agreement, any training, continuing education, employment agreement, anything like that, anything they've agreed with the company. And then we go forward into performance reviews, any performance improvement plans, their license, their license to practice, all their demographic information, that goes in their file. And now we do that just in a digital form, but it's all the
Mm-hmm.
same information.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
Mm-hmm. Similar. So we have every employee when they join is signed up with a shared drive, which is their HR drive. And in that, they have a folder for all their licenses and certificates and this, that, and the other. And then there's a legal folder that they have access to, which is their contract and any agreements that we've come to between the company and the employee. And then obviously any other documentation, usually the manual and any updates to the manual and any that goes in there. And then we have an HR Google sheet, and on each tab is an employee, their name. And so it's just one document that I have to access. And then every single interaction that may be associated with timeliness or a call that came in or
like performance
a complaint,
tracking.
performance tracking. Yeah, everything. I just literally cut and paste. Oftentimes I'll cut and paste from Slack and just copy it into the file, or
I
I'll
like
make
that in a
note.
spreadsheet. I like
Yeah,
that. We have
yeah, and
those,
it's
we do
just
Word
running.
documents. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I do it. But it is an absolutely crucial part of being an employer. Cannot highlight enough how important it is to have a process around that.
it's crucial. And when these situations happen, you need to be able to find information quickly
Hmm.
and know where it is and know what's there and be able to pull that up quickly and say, we had this agreement, we had this contract. Here's how we need to go forward based on this. So preparing in that way at the beginning of employment, obviously preparing also an exit checklist
Hmm.
that it can be replicated, duplicated. We end up having exit checklists that are the template's mostly the same, but it varies a little bit per modality. There are some differences for, say, a mental health counselor versus our an esthetician, of what they might be doing, all the steps for exiting, but it's generally the same, and that will help you feel more empowered and prepared to go through that, process.
Absolutely. And one last thing is always have on hand a severance agreement,
Hmm.
which is not used every single time, but have one on hand anyway. Have your lawyer draw one up. And
Yes, severance agreement. I agree. And then, if for our listeners, if you have not terminated anyone's employment before, you will, if you have employees, you will come up against this at some point that you will need to have a meeting to terminate someone's employment. Our suggestions for that are to always have a third party present. So this can be, if it's just you and the other employee on the team, then you might bring in a partner or someone you trust to just be a witness and take notes. Is really important. And it depends on the state you're in, but a lot of the states are at will. And if you talk to, it's not a bad idea to consult an attorney, especially if it's your first time where you need to do this, and to just see what they recommend for your state, specifically of language that you should use or language that you absolutely shouldn't use. But my biggest recommendation is to have someone with you, have a witness there to take notes so that there's no question on what was said and what's happening. And if you're going to do the severance agreement, to have that prepared to offer them.
hmm absolutely. Speaking the truth there, Kendall.
Oh, it's a hard topic, but it's a really important one. And it's something that our listeners are dealing with every day. We welcome questions in this area. Fortunately and unfortunately, Anna and I are experienced at this process at this point in our careers. So we're happy to answer additional questions you might have. Anything specific to a modality or healthcare space, or, just something that you're really struggling with, and we can answer that for you.
Indeed.
Thanks for being here, Anna. Nice to see you.
Lovely to see you, Kendall. Bye. Thank you for tuning in to the Wellness Centre Creators podcast. We hope you found this episode informative and valuable.
If you enjoyed the show, please consider subscribing and leaving a rating and review. Your support helps us reach more health and wellness professionals like you.
For additional resources, show notes, and more episodes, visit our website at wellnesscentrecreators.com.
We'd love to connect with you and hear your thoughts, experiences, and questions. Feel free to reach out to us through our website or social media channels.
Once again, thank you for listening. We appreciate your dedication to providing exceptional patient care.
Join us next time as we continue exploring the world of wellness center creation. Until then, take care and keep making a difference.
Thanks for listening to the Wellness Centre Creators podcast.